Hi guys, my name is Mark, and here's how you're gonna build a step-by-step your very own creator founder brand, from your visual identity to your unique background to your identity, from world building and actually creating a story around who you are. This is where you're actually gonna, and actually the best part about this entire thing is that you are going to get leads naturally. You're not, if you do have a business or info offer or anything in place, this system, and I'm going to show you right now in front of the screen, is what's going to help you essentially get to those months, because get to those record months just purely from inbound. Because like I said, I've been running this offer myself, or I've been running this system myself, and I've generated around, I don't know, a ton and ton of results just from this alone, just in literally just 1 month of posting content. And I'm going to be breaking it down to you guys. So first of all, I want to start with everything is how to actually build a creator founder brand. Now, there's actually three aspects in building a creator founder brand. We have a visual identity, we have a unique background and your story, and the identity that you actually uphold. Now, these three essential things is actually what essentially makes you the creator founder brand. Remember, we are creators, and we want to be able to share our story, and this is why we want to build a creator founder brand at the first place. Is first of all is visual identity, how you essentially creative present yourself to the people, basically the perception. So your logo, your typography, your color palette, your color grading, your composition, your motion style, your tone. Now you want to be locking in this visual identity to actually make not just an aesthetic brand, but obviously a more profitable, more high authority led brand. Now, unique background and your story. Now, everyone has a different story in their life, so that basically means you have a different skill set, you have different gifts, you have different accomplishments, and you also have a different unique selling point, because everyone is indeed different. We are made differently in the eyes of the Lord. So the reason why people want to follow you at the first place, so this is, you have to make a story that makes people want to follow you at the first place. That could be generating a million views for this particular account, which is very much unique, and all that stuff, etc., etc. Identity is basically, we're going to be explaining that later, in which is the very idea of it essentially is to discover, to reveal, and to leverage yourself, basically using clarity, expression, and strategy within your identity. So actually understanding who you are and then creatively expressing that. So we're going back now. So this is my profile. I know I have 509 followers, could be more now. And I essentially, it's very simple how you actually look at my profile. I have 509 followers. What do you have to believe in me? Obviously, with just me posting in the month, I have been booking a ton of inbound calls, just because I set up the systems of content, these types of content systems, these types of content strategies in place that actually generated me these amount of calls. So what did I actually do? First of all is I actually put my business there just to show people that I actually have something to just an intro essentially. And then I essentially made my own bio, which I think everyone in this space will have a really good converting bio, just saying what you do, how you do things, and what makes you unique, which is creating identity led personal brands. And then you put essentially the YouTube video, a YouTube video that actually, if people want to actually watch more of your stuff, this is just an easy way to get them into your ecosystem essentially. So first of all, in this profile, there's three things that you guys want to actually focus on, which is, firstly, I want to focus on is your identity. Every single thing here you see is correlated to who I am as an individual. So we want to be focusing on these three things, which is, we have to discover ourselves, we want to reveal ourselves, and we want to use our own identity that we didn't build, but rather that is actually us, like that built us essentially, and we want to use that as leverage. Remember, when you're not building your identity. We're simply revealing your identity that once already existed. Because we live life through a sense of, revealing. We don't actually build our life. We are essentially influenced all throughout our life. We are influenced of what's around us, the environment, the things that's currently happening, and we want to be able. What we're able to do is discover those things, understand those things, understand those things that has happened throughout our lives, and then we want to reveal those things. We want to be understanding those things. We want to reveal those. We want to be aware that, oh, like, this is me, this is my environment before, and then we want to use that as leverage, basically. So first of all, we want to gain clarity on whatever we're doing. So before you create content or can make money, it has to mean something. You can't market what you don't understand about yourself. So what does that mean? So that could simply mean what made you who you are, or like, for example, I didn't grow up with connections or money, I had to systemize my way out. That's simply an edge that you can use onto yourself, or you can use your values, which is like I said, I have my own principles, which is, you can use clarity, discipline, and freedom. These are your own principles if you want. That's just examples. Vision, you can leverage your own vision as a way of clarity, which is like, if you want to, what you're really building. So it could be like, I'm not trying to build an agency, I'm trying to build a movement of founders who operate with structure and intention. Or you can have a really good mission, which is what you're not. Basically, examples, I'm not here to play the guru or act like I have figured everything out. So essentially, you want to focus on these things. You want to focus on gaining clarity of your identity first before actually getting to the nitty and gritty, which is the content, the audience, the world building, all that deep stuff, right? So this gives you your identity pillars, the essence of what your audience should feel when they consume your content. You want to make sure that every single thing that you do, you have to understand it, like from the pictures, from the pictures you put, from the moments you give, like these moments, it has to correlate to your story or who you are as an individual, right? So expression. Now that you know who you are, you have to start revealing it strategically. Now, this is where people mostly get wrong. They think that you just have to post content of you being yourself. The truth is, you don't have actually a strategy to essentially, you don't have a strategy or an ecosystem to convert those people. Sure, they resonate with you, but that resonation, or that feeling of being resonated, doesn't go anywhere. And you want to be able to make sure, you want to be making sure that emotion is going somewhere. So here's how we're going to do it. Now, how we're going to do it is actually creating a consistent verbal identity. What do you mean? So using the words like clarity, using the word structure, using the words founders. In my case, it's creator founders, or identity, which is, always repeated in my videos, that which everyone can just remember me. If it's Alex Hormozi, it's most likely value, right? Or let's say it could be, if it's Russell Brunson, it's going to be funnels, So aesthetic, every single thing, every single frame has to reflect who you are, such as the color grading. Like if you go back to my profile again, it's color red, essence of color red, or orangey. It's just there, And if your identity is structure, so you want to be able to leverage your storytelling. Show, not tell. Now this is where a lot of people get it wrong, because most people, they don't really show, they just speak in the camera and they don't really show proof or results. So what you do instead is you show behind the scenes of you doing something, like getting calls, getting the watch, talking to your friend. These things are essentially very, very important to essentially, show, not tell, to show them that you're actually building something. Don't say I'm disciplined. Show the Notion dashboards, the 5 a.m. clips, the grind moments, and then have rituals. Repeat things your audience can attach to. That could be your visual identity, which is, for example, if you see one of my videos, it is a consistent, like, you can have a consistent POV that people can just know, or you could have this types of like talking heads. Actually, I don't have my talking heads. So you can have these types of talking heads essentially, that makes people like engage with what you're saying, with your own beliefs, with your own values, right? So every piece of content should mirror of your identity, not just information, but your energy. Remember, you have to show people that you're a great person, you're a genuine guy. Now, strategy. Now, here's where your identity becomes a monetization machine. That is really important. Building an ecosystem around your essence. For example, you're the systems guy for founders who want freedom. So your offer, community, and free content all orbit on that identity. You have to show that, like, every single thing that you're doing, like your identity, like building. If I'm a person like me, I'm building personal brands, then I have to show how it is like to show your identity, and that's very important. turning your audience reflection into your own offer. That's very, very important. So people will start saying, you help me structure my chaos, and that's literally your offer headline. So you could say that. Or, creating category authority. So the market buys from who you are before what you sell. And this is very important because if you're building a personal brand, that's the main goal. We want to be able to have people who are willing to buy from us, not because of the offer, but rather because of ourselves. When your content feels like it can only be coming from you, you become a category of one. That's why my $100,000 content strategy works, because your system or your content isn't just content. It's a system of identity, basically who you are, or yeah. So like I said, that's how you build something from the identity. Now we have to focus on the content. Now, what type of content you should be posting? Now, people might say, oh, you should post more mirror boards, you should post this or that. This actually depends on what you're trying to attract. If you're trying to attract, let's say, a broad audience, or if you're trying to attract virality, it really depends. If you're trying to attract an ICP, then you shouldn't be making these types of things. But if you're attracting, like I said, if you're attracting a certain audience, I'll show you guys that later. But these are the type of contents that you should be posting when you're a creator founder. Trust me, it works. This is what I've been doing, and this is what most of the people in the info space have been doing. So you have to post behind the scenes. So you have to post essentially what you're doing, like this, or coaching your little bro, all that stuff. You have to post your beliefs and values, which which are your own values and ideas. Like, for example, your ability to merge ideas can change the world, or storytelling or talking head videos, which can be you getting your first cash show, or talking to your friend about something. These simple things essentially are the type of content that essentially makes people want to work with you with. And then what you can do, like I said, after posting those short form content of these types of content, you can easily make a YouTube video that can literally nurture them even further to let's say your YouTube video. And this YouTube video is key. This YouTube video is crucial. If you don't make a good YouTube video, you're not going to convert anyone. So you have to make a really good YouTube video that acts like an indirect VSL to whatever you're trying to sell, if you're selling an info offer, of course. Now in such sense, of course, in the content wise, there is what we call storytelling sequences, and we want to be able to make FOMO on these storytelling sequences. We don't want to show FOMO here. In this part, we want to create emotion. We want to create emotion on our content, essentially, that makes us become a likable person. But in the story sequences, these are where we show the results. This is where we show the FOMO. This is where we show that they're getting left behind because of what I'm actually doing right now. So it could be like a massive day, or we could just show you a piece of content, and then you could show literally 2 book hauls just from that. And you can have, let's say, this one, just more proof. You can even show you almost earned a client from it. It just builds authority. If you create a story sequence that essentially takes them into becoming a unknown person to becoming a buyer, that's insane. So you will have to be able to do that. Now we have here is essentially we have here story editing sequences from highlights. So we have ourselves, the results, the story, the mission. Now why these 4? Because like I said, 4 is just showing that what you've done, right? And then thirdly, this is the story, and then your own story. And we want people want to know more about you, right? And the mission is very important because people want to know the end goal, right? And then just add this because it just shows a mere reflection of yourself. This is just opinion or optional essentially. And yeah, this is the results. So now we're gonna go to the audience part. Now, how do you actually attract an audience? Now, in this audience part, there's 3 types of things that you want to be able to do. So if you just post eyeball content, essentially, you're only gonna attract, let's say, a random audience, mostly because of virality and all that stuff. And the ICP pool you have is very small. You're just probably getting a very small percentage. Now, the pros of this is that you have fast reach and impressions. You're great for testing hooks and creative angles, cheap and easy to produce in volume. Just showing yourself, talking about something random. like let's say Red Scales, showing his cars and all that stuff. That's the type of content that is just purely for eyeballs. No trust, no loyalty, just nothing. Easily copied. No. Now, these are the people mostly coaches are doing, which is posting value content and eyeball content, right? And it's great, I guess, but at the same time, it's not gonna work out because you still have a random pool of audience from the eyeball content, random pool of audience, and then you're posting value content that just, the IC people probably a little bit bigger, right? So it builds credibility and attracts people with the problems you solve. It separates you from pure entertainers, which is, people who are just posting a bunch of viral content, and then you generate leads. You position yourself as worth following, but it feels like it's transactional. There is no one really knows who you are. You're very still easy to replace, and there is no emotional pool. You want to create emotional pool. Now, this is where the top 5% people are actually doing in this space, which is posting value content, eyeball content, and connection content. Now, this is what you clearly see here actually, but there's still something I want to show you guys later. So, when you post value content, eyeball content, and connection content, you attract your dream audience, which is maybe a group, entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are essentially, if your dream audience are entrepreneurs, then you get that, right? And then your ICP pool is bigger because, like I said, entrepreneurs is essentially there's going to be agency owners. There's going to be coaches, consultants, and tech founders. So these are essentially the ICP pool gets bigger because you're attracting the dream audience that you want, right? So what does this do? It builds trust and resonance. It makes people feel like they know you, and that increase conversions and engagement. And it creates loyal fans and not casual followers. And sure, it's nice, but there's still very much cons to this. It requires consistency and vulnerability. It relies heavily on your personality. Harder to systemize, takes more emotional energy. And stay long enough here, you aren't building something that builds movements, and you still rely on a certain playbook. So you're not actually building your own brand. You're not actually standing out if you actually just build value, eyeball, and connection content. No one's gonna remember you for that. If people are just posting the same thing, you're not gonna really you're not there's nothing that can differentiate you. But if you do post value, eyeball, connection, and identity plus beliefs and values content, then you create a movement / community. So what does this do? You attract your dream audience because you post value content, you also post eyeball content, and you post connection content. Now dream audience is very much important because, like I said, you want to gain a dream audience in order to convert them into your ICP, in order to convert them into your community, right? As loyal followers. So dream audience. So what does this do? How do you actually do this? So the pros. You're building culture and belonging because people don't just follow you, they identify. This creates movements, not just audiences. A maximum brand equity and pricing power. That means you control your own brand because people know you. You built your own name, right? Basically, that means you charge whatever you want. Followers become evangelists. Competition, proof, and legacy level. Yeah, you don't really have possession because essentially people love you for who you are. Cons, this will take the longest time and requires a strong leadership and vision, which is probably the hardest part in building this thing because no one really has structure, no one really has clarity. Hard to fake, must be authentic. Now, honestly, this will require you to be yourself, and most people like to copy others, and it's not going to be working out. Comes with responsibility. You're shaping your identity, not just content. Basically, whatever you post online essentially correlates to you, right? So, what is world building? Now, this very concept is what's going to take you from becoming just an average 5% Joe posting value content and eyeball content to becoming one of the top ones, right? So what is world building essentially? You want to be able to create The strategic creation and immersive and consistent brand universe that extends beyond products, service to foster deep consumer engagement. This is probably the most important part because we want to be creating a world around our story. And if you're able to do that, your ability to actually hold, like I said, your own brand equity and the pricing power within your company or within your agency, consulting business, or whatever is super high. Now, I want to give you guys examples of people who actually achieve that type of world building that is out of existence. So Tyler the Creator, every single album that he has a different character that literally immerses us into a new world. Tyler the Creator was able to capture world building by creating characters based on a distinct identity. So like I said, built on Future, Go Fang, essentially albums, right? And then the trust is radical authenticity, humor, and DIY culture made us community feel on it, right? So the ICP is creative outsiders and misfits who wanted to belong in something raw and different, right? So this is the ICP. This is essentially the ideal customer profile that Tyler the Creator is, trying to target, right? Or we can just say Steve Jobs, right? Was a master in blending world building, trust, because we all know that he's really he's a perfectionist, right? He didn't just sell computers; he created a universe of creativity, you know. So his world building is turning Apple into a minimalist, futuristic, creative religion. Everyone loved what he was doing, right? The trust, the obsessive attention to design and quality and storytelling made people believe in this vision. People simply trusted what he was doing, And the ICP was literally, literally creatives and innovators and forward thinkers who wanted tools to think different, So I want to give you also another modern example that is already breaking the space that literally achieved world building in its max, which is Daniel Dillon. Daniel Dillon simply built a world around him, like speaking Chinese, in China, building in Hong Kong and China, basically telling a world that he is who documents a journey openly about business, travel, and lifestyle, and then shares his process in global lifestyle that creates a narrative of a transparent builder. The trust is earned by the behind the scenes, the authenticity, and the real updates from his stories, right? The young entrepreneurs, lifestyle, and remote workers who want to learn by following someone who he's living in. He simply built an audience that is so loyal because he just immersed them into his own world. Because he has distinct, unique qualities. He has distinct skills, gifts, and accomplishments. He has his distinct identity. He has his distinct logo, typography, and everything that made him Daniel Dillon. So, I hope you guys, this video helped you so much. It is a 23-minute video and it's very, very long. But thank you guys for sticking this. If you guys are interested, there is a booking link in below that essentially, I'll be opening 5 slots for people who are interested in working with me to essentially, get their identity and their world building right. So yeah, just click in the link below and let me know, guys. Cheers.